Wow, here I am again explaining something that I would think wouldn't be up for debate. But let me explain to you why saying that poor people should not have kids is eugenics and is probably something you shouldn't be saying. Before I start, let me say this because y'all love to have a poverty off. Every time I say that poor people deserve to have children like anyone else, y'all say, you don't know what it's like to be. I grew up poor. I'm from down the hill in Baltimore. If you don't know what it is, Google it. I have experienced poverty. I'm a first generation college student, both bachelor's and master's, and I got myself through college by even writing about my experiences growing up in poverty. And before we even continue even more, I have been a youth activist and organizer. I have worked with youth of all tax brackets, but I have advocated and worked with youth since I was a youth myself, since I was a teenager. And if you don't know, obviously, I'm a social worker slash therapist. Because I have to preface this because every time we have this conversation, y'all try to shut people down for saying, like, no, poor people deserve to have reproductive health and rights. Anyways, while I do understand that some of you are coming from a place of genuinely wanting children to have better lived experiences, to that I ask, what are you doing in your everyday life to better the lives of children and to advocate for their material reality? But I digress. I understand that some of you are coming from that place, but I need to explain to you why that is actually not it. It's not what you think it is. In a world that is literally built off of white supremacy and colonialism, the people who are more likely to be impacted by poverty are who? The global majority. People who are not on this side of the hand. And yes, my hand's ashy. I just got finished cleaning the tub. God damn it. Anyways, that alone should maybe raise your antennas and you should be able to think from that. Like, maybe this isn't the sleigh that I think that it is. And maybe I'm eating, but only in my mind, and the plate is full. But no, of course it's not. So I'm going to say even further. People in this country specifically, I'm speaking from my context, disabled people can only have a certain amount of savings. Disabled people on this app have been very vocal about that. If you don't follow disabled people, you need to start doing it because you would know this, okay? If disabled people can only have about $2,000 in savings, like, how are they going to be the financially well off that y'all think somebody should be in order to have children? And if you're saying that people who are disabled shouldn't have children, you're definitely supporting eugenics. That is fucked up. Not even going to touch on how contradictory it is to say that you're pro-choice and at the same time say that poor people do not have the right to procreate or have sex or have children in whatever ways that they deem fit. And finally, because I ain't got all day, if you are going to sit up here and acknowledge that these issues are systemic, poverty is a systemic issue, and we do have the means in this day and age to like fix poverty. If you agree that it is a systemic issue and your onus goes back to the individual, then you're looking at the problem wrong, and you should take a step back. Be fucking for real. That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say.
You burned my house to the ground! My family's dead! What do I do?
If you say things like this, you are doing nothing to actually contribute to the conversation of addressing poverty. The people who are responsible for widespread poverty, like the top 1% and billionaires, use this as a common talking point in order to demonize poor people. They place the responsibility on marginalized people to solve the issue that they created. It is 100% more unrealistic to tell billions of people to just stop having children instead of just addressing poverty. If your values and rhetoric align with the people who are the cause of the issue of poverty, then you do not actually care about poor people or poor kids. And to the poor people who are saying, oh, I grew up poor, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, I agree with this take. Stop asserting your individual experience on an issue that affects billions of people, especially people who may be more marginalized than you, such as people of color and disabled people. This is my least favorite discourse on this app, but yeah, straight up eugenics.
Bonjour, Pinterest pretties. I do not care. If you are poor, you should not be willingly having kids. That is crazy and it is very selfish. And I'm confused on why the guy was saying, well, you're saying you're worried about kids growing up in bad homes, so what are you doing to help them? Nothing, because those are not my children. You guys need to stop switching the responsibility off of the parents onto people who do not even know these kids. I am not going to be paying for someone else's mistakes. Are you okay? Like, are you good in the head? You should be saying that to the parents. What are they doing to make sure their kid is in a stable and healthy environment and they are given the opportunities to learn and grow like a healthy, normal person so they turn out to be a good adult? And I'm sorry, some things are just not as deep as you're making it. Because people are telling people to have children in healthy and stable environments when they're financially stable does not mean they are demonizing them. And I'm noticing people are saying others can make all these mistakes because everything is the government's fault. Everything is the system's fault. When in fact it is not. The system did not force you to lay in bed with John, who works at McDonald's, and keep a kid knowing you were pregnant. But no, then you chose to have a baby shower. Then he left you. Now you don't know how you're going to pay rent or pay for the kids' diapers, let alone have them go to school activities because you cannot afford to put them on a basketball team. That is not the government or the system's fault. That is your fault. Stop blaming your wrongdoings and your mistakes on other people. Self-accountability is missing, and it needs to be a part of the conversation. I'm sorry. The victim mindsets are beyond me. And this is how I know bitches are dumb. They go after their feelings instead of logic. Your feelings are not going to make you rich, but you know what is? Logical solutions, logical plans, which you guys seem to lack. And have you guys noticed activists never actually answer the problems that are given to them? I could be talking about apples and this bitch gonna start talking about oranges being kidnapped. What are you talking about? The stuff that they bring up, yes, they are severe issues, but they have nothing to do with the current conversation. They are not answering the actual conversation. Like, what are you talking about? You guys use this as a reason to demonize poor people. Demonize? Are you joking right now? Because we say you should not have kids when you are not stable? Because we want kids to live a fun, fulfilling life so they don't grow up to be a serial killer and a fucking robber? What are we talking about right now? We're demonizing the idiotic parents. We're not demonizing poor people. And can we talk about how they think sharing an opinion about whether or not someone should have kids when they are not ready is eugenics? Me sharing my opinion is not sterilizing you. But you know what is eugenics? It is when a law is passed to sterilize a mass amount of people. The two are not synonymous. And people need to be so honest with themselves. Your actions have consequences. This is why you think about what you are doing before you do it, because your children will have to pay the price. It is neglectful to be able to have a kid and you cannot financially provide for it. That will be hindering their development. I do not care what anyone says. Every single action you take in life can hinder you. That would be the consequence. It's always, oh my gosh, but they make it so hard to not access birth control. They make it so hard to not access abortions. Then why did you choose to have a one-night stand? When you knew the reality of things, if you knew it would be hard to get rid of a kid that you were not ready to raise, why did you choose to lay down with someone unprotected and have him busting you? Excuse my language, but I'm just being so honest. It's not smart. And I know there's going to be that one person that is like, well, poor is different to anyone. Even rich people go through hard financial struggles. Anything can happen at any moment. Babe, you know damn well if you are able to pay your rent on time, you know damn well if you are able to pay for an extra set of clothes for the next 18 years, you know damn well if you are able to pay for extra food for lunch, you know damn well if you're able to pay for extracurricular activities for your kids. Let's not play dumb. And also, I never understood the argument of, well, we get rich later in life. Why would you let your kid endure a roller coaster that's not even for sure having a destination to being financially stable? Why would you take a chance with your kid? But that's it. Au revoir.